Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation. And I'm joined this morning by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Eric. Before we jump in, Eric, 7 years ago, when we started our podcast, now every Saturday morning for 7 years, north of 300 episodes, there was something that you used to say regularly in our opening that we don't say it as much anymore, but I'm reminded this morning.
I love that.
You used to say that the world is on fire.
Yes, sir.
And we're carrying around buckets of water, right? Eric Ellis was prophetic. The world is on fire.
It certainly is.
And when we come together Saturday mornings with you, me and Eric and the community, it's just offering up a few cups, if not full buckets of water, just to douse the flames of what's taking over the world, it seems.
Right. The flames of ignorance.
The flames, come on, Eric, the flames of ignorance.
Right.
I am excited today, first and foremost, because I'm with you, E.
Same here, man.
First and foremost, I've been very excited about today, as I am more and more about every Saturday morning. It's well beyond a chore. It's an expectation. I expect, right, to start my week off on Saturday, and which would take me through Sunday and the week to follow. So, good morning, Eric, and good morning, community.
Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, community. You see what's looking over our shoulder, don't you?
Yes, sir.
That's Tommy Lewis and Eric Ellis. That's our new logo. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Y'all got a chance to see it right there. And so they had put some generic silhouettes. I said, no, use us. So that's Tommy and Eric, and we're delighted. Tommy, we've got a guest. We're going to jump right in this morning that's joining us. Why don't you introduce him?
Yeah, absolutely. It is an honor and a privilege to bring to the front stage Brother Jamahal Boyd Sr. Jamahal and I, we go back a number of years. We don't have to count the years, but it's enough years such that when we see each other in passing, we speak. That speaks volumes to me. We meet a lot of people, Eric.
Absolutely.
You, me, Brother Jamahal Boyd. And sometimes seasons come and seasons go. With this brother, the seasons are always in growth. And so it is an honor to bring him up here. He is the founder, president, and CEO of Excellence Consulting. He's a subject matter expert. He brings a plethora of experiences, wisdom, and knowledge in a very palatable way, right? That's important, palatable way. And so before I throw it to him, and by no means is this an attempt to embarrass, but he does it intentionally. This brother here can dress.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Come on now.
Yeah, this brother here.
When you look good, you feel good.
Don't mess around. You haven't seen him out down today. Man, I've seen this brother like GQ. but impressions goes a long way. The look of professionalism, the look of taking care of one's every small little step, from the cufflinks to the polished shoes to the tapered beard. It is an attention to detail, and this is what he provides to clients, customers, patrons, and community members. I would like to welcome CEO of Excellence Consulting, Jamahal C. Boyd Sr. Welcome to the show, Jamahal.
Oh man, you know how to make a black brother blush. I can tell you that, man. And thank God for the opportunity to be joined with you two brothers once again. Like I said, man, we go back And I thank both you and Eric for embracing me when I moved here from Philly. And that's what we need more of too, man. When a brother comes in town, how does the community wrap their arms around them and embrace them? So thank you for that. I had the pleasure of working with you both directly and indirectly. And again, it may be memories now that, so far removed that we don't remember, having utilized your services, Eric, in a number of roles that I was in, because I wanted to make sure that they saw us doing what we do. And you do what you do with excellence. And same with you, Tommy, working with you through some work with the chamber and several of our diversity partners, and just building that relationship professionally, but making sure that we put coins in each other's pockets. And that was one of the things. If I'm in a position to help my brothers who are doing what we do, especially in this space, I was very intentional about changing the game, because our counterparts were giving their folks the contracts all the time. But for us, it was a supplier diversity initiative and, other things like that. But if I was in control of those things, I wanted to make sure that the intent was there to make sure that they saw who you were. So thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for today.
Right. And thank you, because, and I think it's so important to say that out loud, because a lot of people don't know that that's occurring. And for those that want to sort of erase all the DEI things because it's low, quote unquote, lowering the standards. Well, no, there haven't been any standards, and people have been giving it to folks that look like them. And DEI was one of the only mechanisms in some cases to push people to try to diversify who they're working with at all.
Well, yeah. And, I can say with all certainty and confidence, it was because of DEI. In one of my roles for a major health system here, I was leading supplier diversity, and I set an aggressive goal with my COO to change the game. And I said, all we need to do is provide opportunities for businesses that are minority and otherwise to excel by giving them a chance. Because when we looked at the list of people who were getting the contracts, it was the same people recycled every cycle of RFPs that we put out there. And I said, well, here's another list of qualified, competent organizations that are doing it in the community. And our friend Howard Elliott and I had worked on getting that list together. And I shared that with the organization. The COO said, that's an aggressive goal to achieve in 1 year. I said, we could have been doing this years ago. Fast forward, they allowed us to go forward with changing the game and giving these minority-owned, women-owned, veteran-owned, disabled-owned businesses an opportunity to get into the organization. Not only did we hit the goal, we exceeded the goal, and I wound up winning an award from Claudia Abercrombie for the Ohio-Kentucky Construction Initiative as one of the leaders in supplier diversity, because we achieved 26%, which was very aggressive of a change for just allowing minority businesses to have an opportunity as either prime contractors or subcontractors. But we have to be bold about it. And then we have to, I think, Eric, you said it earlier, man, we have to be able to speak that with confidence that it's going to happen and not be afraid of the consequences of success.
Yeah, that's a great way to start a conversation, right? There's a lot of things, Jamal, that's happening in the world, including but not limited to diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. We're seeing a shrinkage of workers. We're seeing some efforts to combat anti-discrimination, while at the same time discrimination is happening. Right. We're seeing a lot.
Look, he just started busting out. Like, really? Really gonna name the whole thing ending illegal discrimination and be discriminating right while you write up the words.
Right.
And you discriminate.
Right.
Being had, hoodwinked, etc.
Right.
So bring us up to speed on what you do in excellence consulting, what it does, and then kind of pivot to what are some of the challenges that you and your organization are addressing with your clients and partners?
Sure. So what excellence consulting is based around is really helping individuals and organizations, either at the executive or personal level, achieve excellence in what they do, and using a lens of diversity as a foundation to help grow and educate the base of individuals that we impact. And what does that mean, right? Really being able to provide actionable solutions that work with the everyday life and living of those who do what they do. And that is across the globe, across the country, and been blessed to work on a number of initiatives. Now, I will also say, consulting is not, or now, give urban vernacular, it ain't for the weak.
No, sir.
We just talking about that. Yeah, let's talk about
You
that.
got to put that work in, and it's not just based off of, oh, I want to consult because I know some stuff. No, it is consulting to provide actionable, not just solutions, because I can grab a solution from AI, but did it work? And just because it worked doesn't mean that it'll work for us. So you have to be able to provide that in a way that it's not just one track solution, but a multi-track solution that is actionable. And you have to work with clients that are willing to listen, right? Because if they're not willing to listen, I'm not in this work to put a white paper on somebody's bookshelf. And I've actually turned down opportunities because people just wanted to check a box, or just do some things that don't have anything to do. First of all, I'm a man of God and a man of faith, and if God says that's not for me, I don't pursue it just because it has a paycheck attached to it. It has to be meaningful, actionable, and able to allow the world to be impacted, whether it's the Boys and Girls Clubs or other entities that I work with across the country. Just making sure that what I do when I leave, I've developed something that changed. And if they are serious about it, the solutions that I provided will allow them to not only change for the moment, but change for a movement. So that's what excellence consulting does in a nutshell. And again, like I said, I've been blessed to provide trainings, educations, some one-on-ones, executive turnarounds, and most recently worked with the Boys and Girls Club in Dane County and Madison, Wisconsin, and helped them reorganize their leadership structure and raise some funds for a few initiatives that they were working on. And that spun out into some other consulting opportunities that I've had there. But again, it's those ebbs and flows. And I share that because I know y'all can relate. When it's good, it's good. But when it's rough, it's tough.
Right.
And
you better know how to kill something.
yeah, and particularly in this time as we pivot to the what have we seen part of the conversation, it's a tough time for folks in our space that do diversity work. And I think it's also intentional because God does nothing by accident. But I believe that we have been called for such a time as this because, Eric and Tommy, both of you have been in the game for a long time. I love the logo, by the way.
Thank you.
You've been in the game long enough to know that, one, this is nothing new. But two, what is new is the strategy for how we move forward. And the strategy, we can't carry, the three of us or us individually can't carry that alone. How do we coalesce and come up with something where we say ego aside, because we know that there's a lot of that out there. And we know that also all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
Yeah.
So, and then how do we strategize, not just to make sure that we are all on the same page, but that we're not fighting to prove our value and worth as the diversity, equity, and inclusion in other areas are so relevant to everything that we do. It's not just what we do in the corporate world, it's what we do in our homes and in our neighborhoods. So my observation is accountability is the first thing. It's taking what happened in Lincoln Heights, which is my church community, where the neo-Nazis came out and did what they did on a Friday as students were getting out of school in a very cowardice approach to intimidate the community. It's taking that frustration and not reacting, but responding. How do we respond to that? When you react, it's immediate based off of emotion.
Yeah.
But when you respond, it's strategic, and it's not about the moment, but taking the moment and turning it into a movement. So that's what we are to be doing at such a time as this. How do we galvanize the frustration, because, oh yeah, it pissed me off, it pisses us off, right?
Yeah.
We get upset, but what do we do with that energy to turn it into something effective? You got to develop a strategy around how we move forward, because the white folks and the people who are trying to intimidate us are looking at it and saying, oh, they'll fizzle out. They won't, they'll start a boycott, but they won't follow through with it. So the accountability has to be not what are they going to do? What can I do? And then when I put my eyes with your eyes, then we got a we. That's how we change the game. It's not just stop going to Target for this month or on a calendar of dates. Stop going to Target altogether if you can. And again, not knocking people who do that. That's your choice. But we have to develop that lifestyle change that allows us to go ahead and make that movement impactful.
Yeah. Let me jump in here, Jamal. You are on a roll, bro. You are on fire. I mean, it's like he was like Secretariat waiting in the bin for them to ring the bell, open the gate. He's gone. And that's powerful. But I want to actually go back a little bit to where you and Tommy started. And I'm going to respond to this notion of your dress. I'm going to respond to it. Then I'm going to ask you to talk about it as well.
Sure.
So for me, I oftentimes, when I get ready to do a keynote address or something, I'm going to go get, if it's not a new suit, it's a new shirt, it's a new tie, might be some new socks. Because I know that when I go out into the world, that the world may not often be ready to be kind to me. And so when I look in the mirror, I have to start that journey saying, I feel good. I look good. I feel confident that whatever I face today, I'm ready for that. And I believe that if you are not, the world that we run into so often can be a hostile world. So you got to bring your own cheering section. You have to also elevate your own confidence, not cockiness, not arrogance, but confidence that says, I'm ready. I looked down at my shoes and I saw my reflection. I'm ready. And I think that that's a part of what we had to get up. And when I look at you and see how you've curated yourself, I love my son uses that word about his musical stage. He curates that. I think that we have to curate ourselves in such a way that whatever we face, we're not going to let that define us. How do you think about your own curation of yourself, and how does that prepare you then? And what's the message that it's delivering to people that you're serving? But the first message is, what is it delivering to you?
Oh man, and I apologize in advance for the lengthy response, but man, first it started, when I was a youth. My grandfather was a pastor of St. Joseph Baptist Church for 31 years in Philadelphia. He died when I was 5. But that man left such an indelible impression upon my life because of how he curated the look, just the demeanor, and that was mentorship absorbed, right? Never spoken, but absorbed. And I carried that. That man, if in my lifetime of seeing him, had jeans on 5 times, I'm being generous.
Right.
He would come downstairs on a Saturday morning with a white shirt, black suspenders, and black pants just to sit and read his newspaper, drink his coffee, smoke a cigarette, and watch TV.
Yes, sir.
I remembered that. So that was an impression. Secondly, I'm a child of God. So I'm a child of the King. And I, as a prince of the kingdom, represent that everywhere I am and in all that I do. Nas said this in a rap song. Biggie told him, stay fly even when you go to check your mailbox.
Yes, sir.
Right. Again, I think we emulate that. And again, Eric, I saw you in Walmart and just knew, I mean, you was like head to toe, dressed down, got it, just because you never know what impression that leaves. So the third part of that for me is in my marketing hat and personal marketing hat, I am my brand. I don't care how everybody else is dressed around me or what they do. they don't influence or impact my brand.
Right.
And my brand is excellence.
Mhm.
And I try to do that even when I'm washing my car. It might be some old polo stuff that I bought years ago that ain't, you know, as fly or popular anymore, but it's name brand, something, you know, but
Yeah.
that's me. I don't, again, I'm not trying to make you do what you do, but that's how I do what I do.
Right.
And I'm not bougie. I grew up in the projects. I come from humble beginnings. And for me, it is making sure that my brand represents something that takes that conversation off the table about how questionable my character might be because of how I'm dressed. And if you're going to talk about that, it's going to be in a complimentary way or based off of intimidation because you can't do it how I do it. And again, like you said, Eric, it's not cocky, it's confidence, but it's also done with humility because you don't know my story. You don't know where I came from. And my closet now has things that I've amassed over years, thank God. But I remember the times where I only had 2 pairs of jeans, one shirt that I had to wash out every night and put on that
Now.
in the projects, and the sneakers that had the holes in them that I had to cut my toes back with white socks on because the sneakers was black. And if I let my toes sit up, you see that white sock in there. If you don't know that, then you can't judge that. And even if you judge that, again, that's between you and God, but not me. But that's why my brand is my brand and why I carry myself the way that I do.
Yes, sir. You spoke to it so well. You mentioned coming from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Our audience, I see you with the Eagles. Go Eagles, right? I see.
We were all proud to be. We were all Philly.
And to
Philly strong.
throw that in there. I see you. I see you. Jamal, our audience is not only local and regional to this tri-state area, but it's national and global. And in fact, our producer is in Mexico, great country of Mexico. And so we have an audience, i.e. a community that, again, spans the globe. But when we take a look at the U.S., and folks may say the USA is a large country, and there's different cultures in the country. You got the West Coast, East Coast, right? We can go from the DMV to Philly, down, Jersey. We can go down to the Carolinas, etc. Then you have the Southern Bell, Southeast Conference, where football reigns, right? And we may have some historical biography there. And then we have the Midwest, and then the Great West. My question is, coming from Philly to the Midwest and then working throughout the states, how might one translate across cultures? It can be across the US, or it can be across industries or even individuals. How do you and your brand, your reputation, your pedigree translate to resonate with other people from other places and other experiences?
Sure. And, I am and have been working as well with a potential client who's in Africa right now and looking to develop a hospital or hospital system there. So this is a very relevant question because the applicability here is being able to find that common denominator. And that's how you relate across, no matter where you are, county lines, state lines, country lines, coastal lines. And really around the work, I think the anchor, when you look at it, the common denominator could be, HR, or the common denominator could be diversity. The common denominator could be cigars, something else that I also love and enjoy or the patient, the client. One of the most calibrating things that I have been successful at doing when I walk in a room is, again, removing titles, removing roles, removing egos, removing salaries, and all of the things that cloud people's decision making. By doing that, I say, at the end of the day, who are we here to serve? The patient, right? Or the client. And if anything that you think of and or do does not point here, then your motives and intentions are not aligned. And then it bubbles up to the strategic plan, you know, the goal, the mission, the vision, those things that we say are important. But if it's I, me, my division, my department, you know, my budget, my this, then again, we're not calibrated around the right thing. So that's how I'm able to bring that commonality, if you will, to the center point of what we do and keep people focused, you know. And again, I'm also using that to identify where people's motives and intentions are misaligned. And that helps me to, again, no matter where I am, chameleonize, if you will, to where I am with not being changed individually because of where I am and what I do. I could do what I do from anywhere in the world. And, you know, if I'm home or abroad or they put me on a plane and fly me somewhere, I'm still able to go in and relate. But, you know, going back to what Eric said, you know, bringing my brand with me, that again, when I'm there, they know who I am. And when I leave, they wish I didn't leave, you know, and, you know, because I've been in positions where I work myself out of a job, you know, with some clients. They were like, Dad, you did what we need you to do. Don't have nothing else for you to do. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, praise God.
Right. Well, I'm going to add this, Jamal, because you remind me of this. So I just put out a music project. If you haven't heard it, it's on iTunes, Apple Music, and it's called My Sound. And the reason why I called it, I said, you know, all my life I've been looking for somebody to help me bring forth my sound. I never knew that that person was in my house. So my youngest son did the engineering on the project. But what I said in there is that I've written over 300 songs, most of them mediocre, but every once in a while you'll write a song that inspires you and you're at the beginning of something that might inspire others. But even my best songs, not everybody's going to like every lyric. Not everybody's going to like every melody, but it is my sound and everybody has a sound. And so as you're speaking this morning, what I'm amazed with and impressed with is your sound.
Thank you.
You being uniquely who you are. And what you're saying to a world that thinks that it's interested in rejecting DEI is that I'm different. I'm confident about that. And I've got something to deliver. I'm not saying that in an arrogant way at all, but I know that I can add value. And for organizations that are in genuine need of somebody to help them solve problems, they got to have you on the list. And the other thing that I see in you is that we as a people, the world wants to be like us. I mean, we just cool and smooth and sharp and confident. Do not run away from that trying to run to something else.
Right.
And so as the words of eloquence and brilliance roll off your tongue, we see that you have a unique sound that's needed in the world. Can you say something about how that allows you to make it through the day? Because I would say to you that before you, Tommy, before we ever think about what the world thinks of us, we're taking inventory on what do I think of myself? And I start by saying, you know what? I thank God for the hand that he gave me.
Yeah, that's good.
No, it is, again, that personal accountability. You know, I am a man of God first, so I need to know what God says about me in order for me to have that self-love. And if I know how much in the way that God loves me, then I'm able to love myself. And then if I'm able to love myself, then I might be able to love my wife the way that she needs to be loved. And I say might because we can get that wrong, right? And we have to have accountability to make mistakes. But then my children, my family. So before I walk out the door, when my mother used to always say this, you can't be great in the street and horrible at home. So I need to make sure that home is right. Home is right. My mind about how I think about me. And I could care less about what anybody else says about me because I know what God said I am. And if I have confidence in that, then again, one thing God delivered me from years ago was people's opinions. And I thank God for that, because that allows me to have the confidence that, yeah, you ain't gonna like me, y'all ain't like Jesus. So who am I in the eyes of Jesus, that if y'all ain't like him, that I think that y'all should think more highly of me than you thought of him. So I'm prepared for that. And when I prepare for that, I put on that armor of God that equips me to fight against what's out there in the street. And then when I'm out there in the street, it's touching the pond for me. And wherever I go, God order my steps so that when I touch the pond, it creates a ripple effect. And that ripple effect, I'm not looking for the outcome. I'm just responsible for the impact. And if I do that with character and integrity, where people can't call who I am into question, because that also dispels the myth, that allows me to use that voice with confidence, because I'm not worried about that. God says, speak the truth. And when I speak the truth, I'm going to speak the truth in power and allow that to do what it needs to do. God to deal with the consequence, but I'm okay to speak it. And that's the thing, I think, as we close, we have to be confident in having this conversation, because Trump's in office and he's trying to take away everything that we need to do. But it's not about doing what's best. It's doing what's right. And if we do what's right, then we don't worry about the consequence, because if it causes me to lose my job, I've done what's right. But my confidence is not in the job. It's in the Christ that I serve, that he's going to provide for me a means to take care of my family, because I stood bold for the kingdom.
It's evident and obvious where your strength comes from. It's even more obvious to me, at least, I'm sure, with Eric and our community, that you did not arrive to now yesterday. Right? This takes growth, pain, watering, seeding, toiling, blood, sweat, and tears. And so as we kind of bring our conversation together, and we definitely have to have you back, what's next for you, right? In this time of turmoil, in this time of some may say it's a winter season, although we're in the spring. Even a rose can grow through concrete. What's next for Brother Jamal Boyd Sr. and Excellence Consulting?
Well, and I'll just say this really quickly. Like I said, this is or ain't for the weak. You have to really be willing to sow seeds in seasons that don't look like it's going to bloom anything, to be prepared for such a now. So it took some being laid off. It took some leaving some positions because your boss was hating on you, and you had enough money saved up, and it was like, okay, since we don't get along or can't align, I'm going to step away and let you be great. Since we both can't be great together. Things like that you go through in those seasons that sow into such a now. But the common denominator for me has been being able to, and Eric, I'll use your word, curate now. Right now is the culmination of every experience that I've had in my past that has brought me to the place where I am, and can say that I trust God, which leads me to my answer to your question. I don't know what's next for Jamal Boyd at Excellence Consulting, because I can't see around the corner or tomorrow. I could plan and make plans, but again, God could change that in a drop of a hat. So where I resolve, and I don't, unfortunately, anymore do vision boards and all of that, because on my vision board is the will of God, or God's will be done. And that's where, again, my answer and response is, I envision, I think things through. I'm a type A personality, but I can't I would not have imagined being in the space that I'm in right now, right? But my plan is to trust God, and to trust his will, and to only want what God has for me. Those three things are critically important, because that will determine where I land or what I do. Would love to be working with a number of clients and bringing in a ton of money. or working for an organization that I could lead them to great success and all of that, and put some acorns in the ground and retire, whatever. But again, if that ain't God's will, because he has a path for me that he's going to use my testimony to bless somebody, because God will say, you don't need all of that. Or the people that turned away from you, that was intentional because you were more reliant on them than me. That's the plan for Excellence Consulting, to trust God no matter what, and to just let him do his thing. And by whatever means, me being able to look back and share that story with somebody, that it might bless their lives to not have to experience what I did.
So I'm going to make a comment, and then Tommy's going to close out this section. But here's what I want to say to you, a couple things, Jamal. Number one, I'm grateful that we reconnected through this podcast. I am grateful that our community got a chance to hear from you today. And we are believing and praying that some of them will see you and your consulting firm as the answer for them. You see, the kind of integrity that Tommy and I have is we're never trying to put a bushel over someone else's light. We want the world to see you. And if people see you and hear your brilliance and your wisdom here on this podcast, we hope that happens for you, because we know that you can add value. I would also say to you that consider your own podcast. I think that you're a beautiful orator. You've got a wonderful message. People need to hear your voice. And I'd say that I want to reconnect with you to share with you anything I can about consultancy that we've learned and answer any question that you have. There's nothing off limits there. Tommy and I, when we came together, we've shared things with each other's businesses, because that's the way that we're going to grow. I think that there may be a conference or something like that in the future for all of us. So I want to sort of follow up on that too.
I would love to do that. And like I said, I think now, at such a time as this, it's time for us to come together and coalesce and figure out how we can not only support each other, but support the advocacy for what we do. Priya Klosik and, like I said, the dearly departed Lisa, who's a stalwart in DEI space, a number of others. I know we have a list of brothers and sisters that we don't compete against each other. We just have our own separate clients, areas of experience and expertise that we could do it. But I would love to bring that platform together, even if it's a conference of DEI, experts, and say, hey, we need to talk and let's figure out what the strategy is to be able to go to DC and help get some public policy in place to reestablish what's been torn down. I mean, again, not to veer off, but it's just so frustrating to see what happened with Pete Rose versus Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
But we're not paying attention, right? And what can we do? Take that frustration to make sure that when we talk in history to our kids 20 years from now, they're not getting a whitewashed portion of the story. That's what I would love to, again, we'll talk offline. I'm sure.
That's good word. That's good word. So again, to our community, we want to invite you to like and subscribe, as always, so that you're reminded about this conversation with Jamahal Boyd. It's not just for Eric and I, but subscribe, hit the bell, that you come back to Diversity Conversations and you repeat this message. You can double click and hear the good words of Jamahal Boyd and Excellence Consulting. With that being said, brother, enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend. God bless you and your family and future prosperity. Be blessed.
God be the glory. Take care. You guys be blessed. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's brother Jamahal Boyd. It's great to have him, as always. And that was an exciting conversation, Eric.
Yes, it was.
I think so. And to our community, I will say that I dearly love this show. My personality, particularly, is very inspired when we have interviews, full transparency. When I'm able to ask questions, or there are questions that are asked, and I am just absorbing. I'm a student of life. My personality is that I'm an introvert. and I'm a learner. So I literally listen more than I talk. When I'm doing my job, keynote speaking, facilitating,
you got to talk and be out front, and bring the energy.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But I learned by listening, right? And so we've had a series of interviews over the last couple of weeks. We're going to have some more.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled program of having conversations. Selfishly, Eric, I want to hear from our community. Right. We have opportunities for you to join us.
That's right.
Right. So, quote unquote, subject matter experts are not the only subject matter experts.
That's excellent.
Sometimes it's us who experience life. I think that's most of us. Share your life.
Right.
We want to learn from you because I think that your life and lessons learned might be valuable to another person, if not me.
There's no doubt about that.
Us.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Roger, want to thank you for being consistently here with us. Sherry, thank you for joining us today, and many other that are in our community consistently. We appreciate you greatly. Tommy and I are going to pivot just a little bit and start a conversation that we won't be able to finish, but I think that it's an important conversation, and that is ways to accurately see yourself. One of the things that Tommy and I do is we have a lot of integrity about not just joining the bandwagon of negativity in the world. We're not just here to be critics of what's broken in Washington or any place else. We are constantly looking at how can we sharpen our own saw. Tommy and I sharpen each other. When the show is over, when the lights are dim, we're still talking to each other about how we can become better men of faith, better husbands, better fathers. Those are things that we're working on. And so, as we look at 7 ways to accurately see yourself, Tommy, why is it important for us to be able to accurately see ourselves?
Because the more seasoned we get, the older we get, Eric, we begin to believe the image in the mirror. And so as we constantly look at that mirror image, we believe that mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all.
Right.
So we end up in our echo chamber of our own thoughts and ideals of ourselves. But when we're honest about getting feedback, that the image that we may be looking through the mirror has changed over the years. We don't always see the change. Am I getting older? Do I have certain wrinkles? My skin's changing. My personality is changing. My aspirations and interests are changing. We're living in our own life. And so to get honest, candid, and direct feedback is to really put a benchmark of that progress. And that takes some vulnerability to say, okay, because we can progress forward and we can progress backwards. There is feedback and there's feed forward. A lot of folks don't use feed forward. I'll tell you right now, even with ourselves, we don't use feed forward. We use a lot of feedback. So I think it's important to ask honest feedback to receive the medicine.
Define feed forward. I want to make sure our community doesn't miss that.
Yeah. So feed forward is when you're not really reflecting on past behavior, events, or situations. See, feedback is when you take a look at what's already happened, right? And you try to advise or give some direction to redirect a behavior, a mindset, to change an outcome or expected outcome. Feed forward is to really project, here is the expectation, here is the behavior moving forward, here's what I would like to do to support you. So we're going to look forward, and every time we get to that benchmark, that timeline forward, be it 3 months, 6 months, etc., at that point, going to give you some more feed forward. Right? So feedback, that is what it is, but sometimes the feedback comes back after a year and you've even forgotten what you did a year ago. So let's just feed forward.
I love that. And so one of the things that you can do in terms of trying to accurately see yourself is ask for honest feedback.
Yep.
Talk to people you trust, friends, mentors, family members. Ask how they perceive you. Ask specifically about your strengths, blind spots, and habits that they notice. Now, let me start specifically about strengths. What we want in our lives is people that can bring us a balance of feedback. None of us need people just beating us down every day. So
No.
if the people around you, all they can do is say something negative about you, that's not helpful. If all they can do is praise you and say you're the greatest, that's not helpful. But when people can bring a balance of feedback, when you have said that you're interested in it, I try not to give people feedback, Tommy, who are not interested in it, but if people ask me for that and I surmise that they really want genuine feedback, then I typically want to start with the positives and what's great about them, and then maybe give them constructive feedback in spaces that they're interested in.
So Eric, what do you do when people ask for feedback, but the feedback, it's not affirming their current thoughts? It's actually feedback based on your or others' observation of their thoughts and or behaviors or speech. So they're asking for feedback, giving feedback, but unintentionally they're like, just affirm what I already know about me. I am the king and I'm fully clothed, right? And then you say, nah, you're naked.
Yeah.
You're butt naked. How do you address?
Good question, Tommy. That? Depends. If it's my wife and she's asking me how do I look in this dress, hey, girl, fantastic. That's the answer. Unless you're really interested. But I'd rather one of your sons or your daughter tell you that, because you ain't gonna really hear that from me in a positive way. So I'll just bail. Now, I would say when it's with people, I make a lot of calculations, Tommy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wish I could say that I just answer it honestly. I do not. I make a lot of calculations very quickly. Is this person interested? Would it be helpful for them to give the feedback?
Wow.
Let's see. Would it be harmful to the relationship? Are they actually needing encouragement? So I'm assessing very quickly what I think the real task at hand is. And then I make a judgment based upon that. I do not have to expend any of my energy if you're not interested in honest feedback. Then I don't give it.
Indeed.
I just save us that complication. No, you're not interested. You're fine.
You're good.
That's what you're going to get from me. If you get the short answer, that's what you're going to get from me.
Yep.
Because I'm not trying to make my day longer or harder. So let's just agree. You're beautiful and brilliant. And rich.
You all need to rewind the tape on this. That was a jewel. That was a jewel.
Don't waste your feedback on people that don't want it. Do not do it.
I'm receiving this, Eric.
Yeah.
I am. I'm receiving it.
Right.
I have a couple of folks in my life, one personal, one a colleague at work.
Right. It's a setup.
That's been kind of turning the tables and asking me after I have shared some feedback with them. They've asked me, so what are you doing to get better? Oh yeah. They've asked me that straight up. And I've received that comment because two thoughts come to mind.
Right.
Eric. One, you obviously do not know me. Right? I'm talking about me. You obviously do not know me to ask me, what am I doing to get better?
Right.
It is part of who I am.
Right.
Those around me who know me, they know me. I am one who has introspection. Constantly.
Oh, I know that for a fact. Absolutely.
Right. And then the second is, Who are you to ask me? Here's how I get better. I get better at being the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sharing that as a threat at all. But where I sit and my vanishing point of the horizon is a bit broader than where others on the team sit. They're basically soldiers, boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We have our respective roles. And so when I'm giving feedback to said person,
Mm-hmm.
it's because I see the horizon and I'm trying to get them,
Mm-hmm.
me, and others to the horizon, the mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
And so to ask me, what are you doing to get better? I'm trying to see the mountaintop, the horizon more clearly. That's what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I need more information so I can see the information. So, and then the third is I just don't give the energy to that.
Right.
So it's helping me right now, Eric. And I know some of you in our community, you may have got that table turned on you.
Mm-hmm.
It can be through direct table turn or through gaslighting.
Right.
But you're trying to give feedback to the person who may have asked for feedback, or you're just giving feedback because you love, care, and support them, and they turn around and what are you doing? That's driven out of emotion.
Right. And what I would say is if they're out in the world and they ask me, what am I doing to get better? I might hit them with I'm in prayer. Prayer changes things. That's all you're going to get.
That's it.
Prayer changes things. You coming at me crazy, again, not going to give any energy to that. Because you didn't ask me a great question. Now, so prayer changes things. I mean, I ain't say nothing to you. What am I doing?
What are you doing?
I'm in prayer.
I'm in prayer.
Right now.
Right now. Right now.
That I don't say nothing super crazy to you.
I'm in prayer right now.
Right.
Right now.
Now, if it's inside an organization, then I'm probably doing like my grandmother said, probably having the wrong conversation.
Okay.
Because this ain't really about what am I doing.
Indeed.
Talk to me more about what's happening in you that's brought about that question. Because me answering that question is not answering the right question. And then I'm seeking to, because that's almost a bit hostile, it's passive aggressive a little bit.
Yes,
there's a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we can get that way, Tommy. We are human beings, man. Tommy and I are gonna make mistakes. Boy, I'm gonna make mistakes at home with my family. And so I want to make sure I don't know a person that's more interested in getting better than Tommy Lewis.
Yeah.
And so I really honor that about you.
Thank
So I think that sometimes opens people up to go in all kind of crazy directions. What I've learned is that human beings in general struggle to want to hear honest feedback. So I'm not living in a world that I'm eager to try to give that because people just aren't there. And unfortunately, you can see people's better self. And Tommy, sometimes you just can't help them. You can see it.
Indeed.
And they're not wanting it. And so I just...
Button it up.
Yeah,
Button
man.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric, one thing you do well, you write well, Eric. I must say that. I've worked with you on a number of projects. Your thoughts really are clear in writing. The way you translate emotion, strategic thinking, as well as optimistic future aspirations. And I'm not trying to use big words or
I appreciate that, man. That's awesome.
You write very well. And so as we look at 7 best ways to honestly see yourself, I think that journaling says number 2, journal with radical honesty, right? Write about your thoughts, actions, and motivations daily or weekly. The skill of writing, be it penmanship writing or keyboard writing. Reflect on moments of pride, embarrassment, insecurity, or confidence, right? Be brutally honest, Eric. No one else will read it. So the tool, and this is what I need to do, I need to really journal my thoughts. And I need to do this, Eric, honestly, that I am finding more and more that I am consumed with my own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I am in between the long-term strategic thinking
Mm-hmm.
as well as the immediate event response,
Mm-hmm.
where it's coming together and I am no longer living in the moment
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Mm.
I'm living in reflection. Oh, what did I just say? What did I do? How can I get better? How can we work better? Kind of that event that just happened,
Mm-hmm.
reflect versus let's get better for 5 years, 10 years. And I don't know what real progress I'm making because I'm not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Where I know for me, I have at one point in my life graduated from high school, graduated from college, went back to some notes that I took in class
Mm-hmm.
and thought, oh, I was writing like that, right? I'm well beyond writing like
Right,
that.
right.
Or I was thinking that way.
Right.
I look back at my 4th grade essay paper.
Right.
I'm writing like a 4th grader.
Right.
Because I
Right.
was at the time.
Right.
If I were to reflect back to 5 years ago, if I were journaling, I think I would have to be honest, I would have better or stronger self-confidence
Mm-hmm.
in that I am moving in the right direction of self and toward the now,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that now is.
Mm-hmm.
So I can live in retrospect, in presence, and in the future at the same time.
Now, let me give you sort of break down what you've just observed here in these last few moments with Tommy Lewis and I. So the title, I'm saying we're going to come back to this, Tommy.
Yep.
The title is, Best Ways to Accurately See Yourself. And what I want to share with you is the power of having strong friendships and relationships. What Tommy Lewis and I just did is I complimented Tommy for being one of the people that I think is most open to accurate and honest feedback. So our relationships allows me to give him some encouragement around what I see in him. And then Tommy said to me, he said, Eric, I see you as a great writer. Now, he doesn't know that that's a squishy spot in me that from the time I was a kid, I didn't feel like I was a very good writer.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes when you have a great confidant, a great friend, someone who can give you some external view of how they see you, it may in fact be covering an area inside of you where you're insecure.
Amen.
And then what you saw Tommy Lewis do was to also say, here's some things that I don't think that I'm really good at and I'm working through. He can say that because he feels safe enough with me and with you, community, to be able to do that. And so what I love about this conversation is it opens us up to be able to see ourselves as God sees us. And God wants us to have healthy relationships in our lives with people that won't seek to harm us, but will seek to lift us up and help us out, and to also help us to accurately see ourselves. And so I needed to slow that down and show people what else was happening beneath the surface.
Yeah, that's good word, Eric. That's good word. You know, these conversations, man, on Saturday morning, I guess they're scripted. This guy, God, this higher spirit God,
That's right,
is always jumping into the picture.
always.
I'm telling you, believe it or not.
Right.
And so I would like to invite our community again, as Eric had asked Jamal, or recommended to Jamal with the podcast, let your voice be heard.
Yeah.
Right? Let your voice be heard on our podcast. You're welcome.
Right.
Let your voice be heard on your own platform. But I think that all of our voice are valuable, needed, and in many cases desired to have that diversity of voice, right? Diversity of voice.
And I want to reiterate what Tommy was saying about journaling. and radical honesty in our journaling. As I look down at the things here that we can do to get more accurate self-awareness, I see a bunch of opportunities for myself, Tommy.
Yeah.
Just so you say it inside of your head, but writing it down, that sort of radical honesty will help you to see yourself both positively and then some of the ways and that you need to grow. Community, we want to thank you for joining us on this Saturday morning. The day just blew by, didn't it, Tommy? Oh my goodness. And so we want to thank you for joining us today, and we want to encourage you to come back next week for another important diversity conversations. Take care.